chop it up. Come to the show. We got some things we can talk about. Chop it up. Chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up. Chop. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up. Chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up. Chop it up. Chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Come to the show. We about to chop it up. Come to the show. We got some things we could talk about. Come to the show. We about to chop it up. Come to the show. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up. Chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up. Chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up. Chop it, chop it, chop it up. Chop it up. Chop it. We got some things we could talk about.
Great Thursday evening, Baltimore, and welcome to the Chop Shop. As always, I'm your host, Pastor Marvin McKenstry Jr., humbled at the privilege to be able to come to you to talk about the city that I love and the things that matter in our city. We're excited because we have an amazing show tonight. But before we get into all of that, I got to bring on my right hand and my left hand. He's my main man on the ones and twos, the wheels of steel, always making the magic happen. You ain't heard that one in a long time, I shot. The wheels of steel. My main man, Shaka D Pitts. What's up, Shaq?
What's good, Marv, man? What's good, man?
Man, I'm excited.
It's a great show. It's a great show, man. It's a great show, man.
I'm excited about tonight's show, man, especially on the heels of some of the stuff that we're seeing in the news. Now, before we get to talking about what we're seeing in the news, I want y'all to know this is an interactive show, right? So we want you to like, love, and share. Tag people in the comments that you want to be a part of this conversation. And if you're on the original broadcast, the Marvin McKenstry Jr. Facebook page, then you'll be able to get your comments and even questions put up on the screen. So we want you to make sure that you are talking back to us tonight. Like, love, share, and comment on this broadcast because I have seen it all. We know that there are multiple Baltimores that exist, but a threat went out. A threat. We have seen the videos of the recent violence. And listen, the videos aren't exclusive to any one demographic. We have seen people of all races down in Fells Point act, and I didn't need the videos because I have been doing security work in this town, and I've worked down there in that area, and I done seen when you mix alcohol and people in that area, it's always been crazy. But we got a little bit, it been accelerated a little bit because we've seen people shooting and all of that sort of thing, and a threat went out. If you don't do something about this, we're going to withhold our tax dollars from the business owners down in Fells Point. I like the Fells Point businesses. I like the whole mom and pop allure of it. I like to go down there and chill and all that sort of thing. But that threat got responded to with a town hall from the mayor. Direct contact. Now, hallelujah, the preacher almost raised up in me. I've been in West Baltimore most, if not all, my life. I've been working in the communities of West Baltimore, and violence has been rampant, and we have not gotten one town hall. Shaka, I'm going to ask you to explain it to me before I go and vilify any of you. We got the right brother on here tonight to talk about all that nonsense.
Listen, when I found out, after this stuff hit, and I knew who we had, I was like, oh my God, listen, I don't know. The creator just lined some stuff up, man, because this is put a spotlight on something that I've known for a long time, right? So I live right here in Bromo, and I don't get none of that treatment. Never bit of that treatment. I don't get
Eric
it from
Costello.
Eric Costello.
Eric Costello got a piece of Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's right, we calling y'all names. Yeah. He got a piece of Pennsylvania Avenue that never gets no attention or anything like that. But we know, like I think a couple years ago, there was a shooting down in Fells Point, and we seen him, the then mayor, and a few other lead politicians in the council down there at a candlelight vigil. It's candlelight visuals all over Baltimore all the time. And I ain't seen none of y'all. At the candlelight vigil.
So my thing is, I'm not even hollering on no racist tip. That's there, but my thing is, it's clearly an economic thing. It's clearly this is where we feel like we need to protect because this is our bread and butter.
We talking pure inequity, man. That's what we talking. We talking you serve in Baltimore different in one place than it is. Now, listen, we know ain't nothing like the uprising put that on display. The uprising and that whole situation showed the other Baltimore. And that's what made the people mad. And y'all know I've said more than once, we've got to be willing to do more than just complain. We got to give the young man a chance and all that sort of thing. But when you get these kinds of occurrences, when our communities are constantly bleeding and crying, not to mention what took place up in Park Heights when Yitzy decided he was going to have a whole community walk. We've been walking Park Heights for 2 years as a part of the men's movement, and I ain't seen Yitzy yet.
So Marv, I live right here between Lexington Market and right where they gentrifying, right? So I walked down and asked the cop the other day, listen, bro, y'all pushing everybody up from where y'all clean. I see what y'all doing. Y'all protecting the businesses, right? I see what you're doing, but we live right up here, and there's nobody coming up here. Can you just, take a walk up here, just, show your face, drive by, whatever. We're not allowed to leave this post. So they're there to protect that right there, the businesses or potential gentrification, but they don't care about what's going on with the residents. I was told that. I was told by desk sergeant that they can't do anything about loitering, that they can't do anything about petty drug selling if you call them. I was told that.
I've said it before.
But yet the good brother is sitting down there like that. I got a problem with that. I've
said it before. Until we educate our people and change our voting habits, we can expect much of the same. We ain't even going to talk about what's been really put out at the thuggish tactics of the president of the city council to go and have his militia strike down a bill in retaliation for the fact that people didn't vote for hit. Like, man, listen. Bro. We got to stop with these thin-skinned, immature politicians, elected officials, whatever you want to call them. Man, we ain't got a lot of time. I got some preliminaries I got to get through, and we want to make sure we got plenty of time to talk to Jovani because we're going to talk about some of this. But as always, we stopping the beef in Baltimore. We're doing it without political assistance, and we're doing it without police involvement. The minute of We Are Us movement, we're putting our resources, our money, our time, our energy, and our effort to be able to go and to address directly the things that are impacting the communities where we live and people look like us that are being involved in all kinds of things, whether it's gangs, drugs, whatever. It all brings the beef, and it's the petty beef that's bringing the murder. And for 2 years now, we have been doing everything that we can to involve ourselves so that we can offer some sort of intervention to the city that we love and stop the bleeding. We have been tremendously successful. I know the murder numbers still look high, but what I'm going to tell you is they would be higher if it wasn't for the efforts that we're doing and what we're already doing. We pay debts. We do what's necessary to intervene and to mediate whatever needs to take place. We get it done. So we want to make sure that you know that this number is here. The flyer is always on our social media. Call this number and let us know where there's a need for us to be able to come in to stop the beef. Peace in the streets. Hashtag be present for peace. We all we got, and we know we all we need. We setting up shop, y'all. We've been all over Baltimore for the better part of 2 years. We kind of setting our operations down to focus on a community, to build a model that we can put in other communities once we solidify it. And we're doing it right down in the Gilmore Street community. All right. It's not particularly Sandtown, Winchester, because it's below on the other side of the bridge. But we want you to come out on Saturday. We're going to have resources, jobs, all kinds of job training, treatment, expungement, mental health, life coaching, and mentoring programs that the We Are Us men have established. Come through on Saturday at 12 noon, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. If you're looking for a job, me, Mr. Jobs, will be there. And I've already talked to my employer partners. I will be there with interview times already scheduled to get you set up to be able to start your new opportunity on next week. So make sure you come through. Lastly, we were privileged, Shaka, to go back into our building on this past Sunday. It was an amazing time to be with the believers again in a congregational setting. And we are there again this Sunday and every Sunday. We're at 1063 West Fayette Street at 11 a.m. in the lower sanctuary. I, yours truly, am your pastor, and we have our overseer, who is my spiritual mom, Overseer Adela Hope, come on through on Sunday for Spirit-filled worship experience, and come holler at the young pastor, man. Listen, this is all new to me. Y'all come and help me out, man. Pray for me or do something. All right, now it's time to get to what we came to do. I got introduced to this young man because I'm an open-minded voter. I'm not a registered Democrat or Republican. I'm a registered independent. I've said it on here, and I don't endorse nobody. But when I got introduced to this young man, he seemed to be a great alternative to some of what was the assembly line type politics that we've been seeing for years here in Baltimore. And I started listening to a lot of the things that he had to say. And although he didn't have the popularity in his platform, he had a lot of truth. A lot of truth. And he wasn't afraid to speak truth to power. The sanctity of the voters booth is something that I never betray. Amen. So I don't tell people who to vote for. But I was impressed with this young man. We often ask the question here, where are those that ran? Well, a couple weeks ago, we had one of those that ran on. And he's still running in Thuroo Vignarajan. This week, we got one of those that ran and is still running. He's still running everything from the work that he does to serve our communities all the way up into running his mouth, speaking truth to power about what's already going down in our city as a result of the last election. I'm talking about the one and only Republican candidate for the city council, President Mr. Jovani Patterson.
What up?
Told you we was excited about you coming, man.
Yeah, man. That's about as cool as I am, though, right? Like my intro, and then
that's about as cool as you need to be on here, man. Because we come here to talk to the people that faithfully show up to listen to us and speak truth to power, man. Like you heard me and Shaka kicking it off in the prelims.
Yeah,
I do want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the people. Because like I said, you didn't have the popularity in your platform, but anybody that would have given it an opportunity to hear what it was you stood for would have definitely known one thing. And that's the thing that I love. You love Baltimore City, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, my name is Jovani Patterson. I was born in Baltimore, but many people don't know. I actually grew up in South Carolina, and I came back when I was 19 years old. My mom grew up in Baltimore, though, and she graduated from Carver, and I was her first son, and she had one brother who was shot and killed. I think a year or two before I was born. So once I came along, she was like, "Man, I see what Baltimore is right now," and this was back in the '80s, and her and my dad, packed up and moved to South Carolina. But I came back because I started my college career. I went to Capital College out in Laurel, Maryland, and I went to school to be a computer engineer. Currently, I'm working as a cybersecurity engineer. So it just put me back into the area, and Baltimore is just home. I mean, I left. I went away for 1 year. I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, but like it was something like just kept pulling me back to the city. And I met my wife here. Both my kids, born in downtown. So Baltimore is really home. I played drums. I played at probably half the churches around Baltimore City. So I've been here. This is home. This is family. Like I just absolutely love this city. It has so much to offer, but we just got to get out of our own way.
So let me ask you this question, Jovani. I wanted to ask you, when it comes down to not only jumping in the race for the president of the city council, but jumping in on the Republican ticket, tell us how we got there.
So I wasn't always a Republican. So I remember growing up, I asked my mom, what is, what does a Democrat was a Republican? And she said, well, the Democrats tend to be for the black people and the Republicans tend to be for the rich. So I looked down, right? I'm black. I'm not rich. Check my pockets. And, my decision was made. So I'm a Democrat. So I grew up, I politically, I was a Democrat. But then what happened? I had my first kid, and started actually looking at the politics of it. And I was actually being coached by a millionaire in business. Like, so he's, you know, kind of coached me on some things, and it was like, hey, you know, even in the way we talk, you sound more conservative than you are, you know, a Democrat. So I actually then looked at the party platforms, right? And then me being a Christian, both of my parents are pastors or preachers. The values that I hold, especially the value of family, the value of life. And, you know, I really looked at it and said, like, maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I'm not a Democrat. And so that really switched it over. So then I registered Republican. And then I'm true to what the original Republicans stand for, which is freedom, which is individuality, which is hard work, which is family, which is, you know, being able to practice religion. So that's really where, you know, I started identifying, you know, at least politically with the Republican Party.
So one of the things that you had no problem calling out what had been years and years of a historically Democratic city. And for the better part, I believe in the last 25, 30 years, Black Democratic-led city. And the reality that the condition we find it in was anything except Trumpism. You know, Trump got the blame for everything, including the condition of Baltimore. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, what is the institution here, the Democratic Party, and, you know, just kind of where we find ourselves as a city, man.
Well, it's hard to blame anybody else. I mean, it's increasingly hard to put the onus on something that doesn't exist here. So let's say we want to put it on white people. Okay, Baltimore is 65% Black and has been that way since the mid 80s. Well, let's put it on the white politicians. Well, Baltimore is a majority Black political everything, and not only Black but female as well. So we can't claim racism, we can't claim sexism. Okay, so let's look at parties. Well, Baltimore's been democratically run for the past essentially 80 years, and you know, so we can't blame Republicans. All right, so where are we going to replace the blame on the ills, at least politically, in Baltimore City? There is no leg to stand on when it comes to arguing, well, you know, Republicans did this to Baltimore. Now, what Republicans did do is leave Baltimore alone, which I think is wrong as well. But you can't say that this is a result, the state of Baltimore is a result of failed Republican policies, failed white people holding Black people back, failed white leadership, all of that stuff. We've been doing this to our own. And what we see is a lot of times when people come from our communities, when they come from the, you know, supposed to be from the streets or from areas that look like us, they be the ones that mainly sell us out. I mean, you know, Nick Mosby several times about the, you know, the water bill. So he's saying that the city should be able to take over your home because you're not paying your water bill. He's one that advocated for that legislation. So, you know, these are people that come from the community, but then sell us out.
When we start talking about coming from, you know, Baltimore, I literally know that there's a difference between me and a person who, I come from Baltimore. Baltimore gave me my second chance. It's loved me, and I was the problem, you know, in urban communities at one time. And then we got this come from Baltimore, but find itself in this political structure that we have here in Baltimore. And, you know, when we find people that are career politicians here in Baltimore, are they governing for the city or for their next job?
Yeah, so it really is just a career step. I mean, they get in the position just to make the next jump in their career. It's really not for the people anymore. It's really, you know, what I can make sound good for the moment. What popularity I can get, and then, you know, you vote for me. I can't name one piece of you know, positive legislation that's come from these, you know, career politicians. The trends are constantly that people are leaving the city. Our taxes are way too high. Crime is through the roof. Our population is decreasing,
depleting. Yes,
like all of this stuff is not making for a healthy city, and our education system is failing. Right, so. So these politicians are really making moves. Hey, I was mayor of Baltimore from this. Why it's really just a stepping stone.
So let's go back to something that you said, right? Because what I'm seeing starting to happen here in Baltimore, truth is not something that seems to really matter. If, in fact, it's a black leader here in Baltimore being called out, it don't matter what the claim is. It's racism because you're calling out a black leader.
Well, if it's Fox News or the Baltimore Brew, if they're calling it out, like, so, and yeah, so I haven't printed it out yet, but I did get my degree in sellout from Fletcher Jones University.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that post.
So I got my, and that's the thing. Like, we have to start standing up for truth. Like, even, with our churches, with our community organizations, everybody, we have to start saying, hey, this is what it is. We know the struggles. And we know who's causing them, but we're not willing, I guess, because the whole not stop snitching, and we're looking at it in the political realm too. But whatever that culture is, we have to start calling a spade a spade.
So I've been a big advocate for, give the new mayor, the young mayor, an opportunity to do his thing. We're 6 months into the new administration. What is your outlook on Baltimore, to where we are now and where you see it going?
Well, if things don't change right now, like we're in for, I think, an all-out war. I really believe every law-abiding citizen should be armed because the police aren't protecting you. Our government at this point is the example of a tyrannical government because there's complete lawlessness in the streets. Now, the way I see Brandon Scott, it's almost like his not claim to fame, but his argument, his position while he was campaigning was like, I'm a son of Baltimore. I'm from here. I know how government works. Now, that is very, very, very true, right? But imagine this. Imagine, you have a car, an old beat down car in your family, but it works. And because you come from that family, you know how to get that car to operate. Right, you know how to hit the dashboard.
We used to call it Jimmy rigging it.
Right, Jimmy, you know how to hit the dashboard 3 times. Turn the ignition 2 times, hit the gas 4 more times, and then turn the ignition twice to get the car started. But that's not how it's supposed to function, right? You know how to get it going. You just know how to get it going, and that's the state of the people that know about city government. That's their idea. I know how this functions, but that's not how it's supposed to function. Is it functioning effectively? Yeah, you might be rolling down the highway, but it's not the best way to be doing it. So we need, in a way, we do need people from outside of Baltimore to come in with fresh ideas, but also partnering with the people in Baltimore to understand what it really is on the ground, right? So, the way I saw him was the same thing. The way I see him now from the beginning, I thought he was. He's older than me, but I thought he was too young. but I thought he was too young and inexperienced. And because he hasn't left Baltimore and seeing really how things should function, how government should function, I think he's in over his head right now.
That's an interesting statement. I was talking to somebody actually in downtown Baltimore. Right near where they're building the new Lexington Market, of course, right next to the old Lexington Market. And one of the things that one of the comments that the person made is that one of the greatest statements of the lack of readiness is the rundown to the governor for assistance with the crime here before unifying all of the people who are responsible to deal with the crime. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I think I've always said the solutions to Baltimore's challenges are already here. There's organizations like the Guardian Angels that could do, that can teach people how to defend yourselves, how to do these community walks within your neighborhood. So it starts locally. Like, we have to look at the resources that we already have. And when you point your finger at someone else after claiming you want more power, like his whole campaign, he spent talking about, well, I don't have the power to do this because I'm not in this position, for example. So when he was on city council, well, I can't do that because I'm not city council president. Now when he's on city council president, well, I can't do that because I'm not the mayor. And then when he gets to be mayor, well, I can't do that. I can only direct these agencies. Like, really, it's up to the state. So we're not talking about or taking ownership of the areas that can be controlled, which a lot of times he directs the police. He can direct the agencies on how to create more safety in our neighborhoods. But it does. He did say something right the other day where he said we got to hold citizens accountable. But I think that came out. It's like a broken clock is right at least 2 times a day, kind of thing. But he said that like we do have to have accountability within our citizens because the ultimate factor in this is the breakdown of our families. And as long as we keep destroying our families economically, and we keep destroying our families with this broken education system, these cycles will just continue.
That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we touched on tonight. And I want to go back to the education piece. Well, let's go with the education piece first. When you look at the state of the school system here in Baltimore as somebody who wanted to be in a more empowered position to do something to impact Baltimore, what is your personal assessment as you continue to see? And I know everybody hates the evil empire, Fox is the devil and all that. But when you disprove Fox, then we got something to talk about. But that's a sidebar. When you look at it and you see continued different, just one story after another with proven fact, everything from money being stolen to, misappropriation of graduation powers and all. What do you say when you see that?
Well, so as a member of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, vice president of Frederick Douglass Foundation, and reading some of Frederick Douglass's work, there's this interesting passage that's really stuck with me, this entire time. And that was the fact Frederick Douglass speaks about when Hugh Auld, his master, Hugh Auld's mistress was trying to teach Frederick Douglass to read. And what he said in this was that don't teach that nigger to read, because it will forever unfit him to be a slave. So when we talk about our education and how that dynamic is playing out within our city, it's undereducating our generations on purpose. Baltimore is home to some of the best financial industries, despite some of them leaving right now. It's been home to Legg Mason, Transamerica, and several others. T. Rowe Price's, which is right out here as well. Several financial institutions, home to high-class, world-class medical institution where people from all around the world come here to study. Johns Hopkins, then University of Maryland downtown. So we have, but they're not recruiting our kids. We're not recruiting from Baltimore.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that. I know that Hopkins does a little something over in Dunbar, but I asked the question, what keeps these major medical institutions from having solid career pathing programs in Baltimore public schools?
It's the state of our school system because our schools is so based on feelings and look, our kids that do come to school, a lot of them are traumatized. But the other aspect, a lot of teachers will say, well, kids know how to adapt. But what the teachers are then, or the school system is then telling them is that, hey, you are traumatized. We have to deal with every little thing at home, when a lot of times kids are coming to school to get away from home, but then get to school and have to talk about what's happening at home again, right? So we're not educating kids. We're not teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we are teaching them how to march in social justice. We're teaching them how to stand up for gun violence. We're not teaching them what it means to be a citizen of Baltimore, what it means to be a citizen of America. I started reading the U.S. Constitution to my daughter. And that is one of the most empowering documents that you could read. But if you ask anyone, what's the First Amendment? What's the Second Amendment? As a youth, none of us are going to be able to say that.
When you look at the fact that we've had 2 mayors now convicted of crimes, we've had the current investigation of the state's attorney and the city council president. You look at the school system and what has been just outright thievery, misappropriation of funds, and all those kinds of things. We had a police commissioner go to prison, convicted of some not to mention the GTTF and all that sort of thing, but a police commissioner. Would you say that we here in Baltimore have a culture of corruption?
Absolutely. That's why no one with certain last names, or if you're not part of the in crowd, then you don't get your position. So yes, it is a culture of Baltimore. And this is my theory. I have the theory on this. I think with the investigation into the Mosby's travel was a test to see if Miss Isabella Cumming was going to play ball and if she was going to be on the in crowd. Because if she gave them the report that they wanted, then they would be like, hey, we can trust her. We can work with her. She's on our side. But because she stood her ground, you saw what happened immediately after, right? They started attacking her. They're saying, okay, she, a Latina woman, she's racist and she's hating black men.
That was hilarious to me. And listen, C4 had her on his show, and he took that claim of racism to task. Like, that was incredible. That was just hilarious to me.
I'm like, but I do think that shows the culture of what's expected, right? You either play ball or you're out, and I that shows that there is a culture that you have to abide by, if you're a politician in Baltimore City.
Yeah, being a part of that group, and we've kind of seen where what is supposed to be our social justice community that has kind of marched in step in alignment with it. What do you believe the solutions? Give us some solutions to some of what's taking place in our city, starting with the crime.
So there's this phrase in business that says whatever you focus on grows, and I think we shouldn't be focusing on crime. I know it sounds counterintuitive. However, we should be focusing on opportunities. We should be focusing on creating more home ownership. And I think that really, really, really starts economically with our property tax rate. When the buildings along the waterfront down, Fells Point, Harbor East, when they pay less in taxes to the dollar that someone that owns a home on North and Penn, that's an issue. That's a complete issue. I think we need to create more homeowners, invite more opportunities within our communities, because that's what will, spark the changes. When these youth see that there's an opportunity or see that there's a pathway to becoming something right there next door to them, whether it's having a family and kids, whether it's, someone just getting up and going to work every day. Having those visuals every day right there in front of you changes a whole neighborhood. But because our economic structure is the way it is, it's forcing everybody out. So now that's, there's a deficit, there's a vacuum, there's a void. It's like a gardener that's no longer tended to the garden where the weeds are growing.
And I'm a little jaded because traditionally these programs and those kinds of outlooks have still missed the communities that I love to serve. How are we going to finally get to see the money hit the neighborhoods where it's really needed? How are we going to really see those opportunities hit neighborhoods that's being gentrified? So I hear what you're saying, but this is where I give a little bit of pushback, because all of those kinds of ideas never touch where I live. They never touch where I love. They never touch where I serve.
So there could be some, interesting programs, kind of set up where it's like kind of adopt a neighborhood. So let's say if you want to develop in East Baltimore, or not, if you want to develop like, in Canton, right? You need to adopt a neighborhood in East Baltimore as well, right? So to increase the values, increase the homes available there. There's somebody I was working with in Atlanta because there was recently this story done on this lady that lives on Park Heights. They want to buy the entire block and have her stay in the home. Fox 45 did the story on, lady, she owns her home and she's surrounded by 2 abandoned properties that are owned by the city. But what happens is the city has this vacancy to value program. And in theory, it should work, but it makes it even hard for the small time investor to acquire properties from the city, because you have to have, it's like a 6 to 8 month sales process. So then a small investor may not have the amount of money need to pay the property taxes to own the property, while things are transitioning. It creates all these hurdles for even small investors. So the city right now, as it is still only set up for major investors these big companies to gentrify, because only the ones with the amount of money that the city's charging can afford it. Like we were going to buy a house, and what happens is a part of your mortgage, part of your payment goes towards your taxes, right? And that kind of determines where you can live, right? So only certain people can live in certain areas because of the property taxes that exist in Baltimore City. And in certain areas, you have an additional property tax they're called special benefits districts. So Fells Point, Roland Park, all these areas pay actually extra in taxes. So when you do go to look for a home, a lot of what you can afford is just based on the property taxes you can pay.
Shaq, bring your comment back, because that's a large part of Baltimore's community. Shaka Pitts says that's all good, but what about us renters? We have no voice. He lives in this reality. Homeowner committees and community organizations have say, not lone renters, when a lot of Baltimore is renters.
Right. Well, why are they renting? That's the first question.
For lack of home ownership opportunities.
A lot of renters could be homeowners based on, if they want to, right? Home ownership isn't for everybody, but right now we're at about a 37% home ownership rate. If we can push that to about 50%, we're looking at a thriving, successful city, right? Because now we have homeowners in these vacant and abandoned areas.
All right, so I'm sorry, I know you was finished. I was trying to let you get your complete thought out. We got some nice kites flying over here in the comments. Shot, can you start to bring? We got a young man named Devin Matthews. Can we get Devin Matthews? He said, why come all you people don't come outside and help and stop trying to bully a young black educated man? Devin, who's being bullied, man? I want to make sure we know exactly who you're talking about so that we can respond in proper context. He says, why come all you people don't come outside? Maybe Devin don't know me, or maybe he ain't directing this comment towards me. I live in these streets, brother, but I want to know who you talking about that's being, what black educated man is being bullied. And y'all got it on fire. Got it on fire up in the comments, man. We got to keep it going. All right, Devin ain't tell us who he was talking about yet. So, Jovani, I wanted to, as we are looking at Baltimore now through the lens of new leadership and new possibility and all of that sort of thing, right? And yet we have another election that's getting ready to come up, and people really have a tendency to ignore the midterm elections. What impact from your political perspective, as somebody that's paying attention, do you see this upcoming midterm election having on Baltimore City's outlook?
Well, I mean, let's look at what the last one had. I mean, what's been done from a congressional standpoint, and this next midterm election, we're electing the governor too. So, and I don't think Governor Hogan's running.
So
it's a pretty big election. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with the Republican candidate, but there have been a few Democratic candidates. I think out there, Wes Moore and Peter Francho, and I think a few others. So I haven't been studying them, recently, but I just kind of been on what's going on locally, and still pushing for those same things we campaigned for. As far as the property taxes, doing things with the education, and getting our families back together.
All right. So when we look at Baltimore, we see a city that's in peril. We see, as we said before, a school system. We see a crime rate. I always like to ask my guests this: what's good in Baltimore, man?
I love the city, man. Everything, man. We got some of the best musicians. Come on, man. The food.
I know what I love about the city. I'm asking you. What's good in Baltimore?
Man, look, I know, as far as it's hard when you see, the news every day, man, but I absolutely love the city, man. From a musical standpoint, I think we got some of the best musicians, producers, Don Trunk, Cariz, Marcel, man, those are my guys. Some of the most talented musicians, Contrell, Harris, man, like all these guys are like world-class talent when it comes to music. I mean, Baltimore should be like popping every day far as the music.
A lot of people don't know that live music was on the comeback in Baltimore before the pandemic.
Yeah.
There were more venues, more opportunities, more local stuff. I got friends that are, because I'm a musician too, I got friends that had put together bands and started to go partner with local venues to try to get some regular stuff going. And then here came the pandemic.
Yeah, man. And then, man, I think the location of Baltimore is just amazing. Like we got the water right here. We got, we're not too far from the mountains, and we right in between DC and Philly. Excuse me. So I think it's really just the best city in the world for everything. History, it's the city of first for a reason, because everything kind of bursts here, man. I really think just Baltimore is just that unique city that I honestly think is going to be a catalyst in changing America, but not for the way most people think. It's going to be a symbol of independence. And Baltimore is America's largest independent city. And I really do believe it's going to be, a great city.
We saw Baltimore, the impact of Baltimore going through uprising in 2015, impact how Baltimore dealt with what was the potential for another uprising in 2020 with George Floyd. I personally was proud of Baltimore, the efforts and the work that we put in. Baltimore has a strong activism community. It has a lot of people that are at the community level that can impact change. When you think about the stakeholders in Baltimore, be it the faith institutions, the activists in the community and things of that nature, what are some of the things that you would like to see happen to deploy them with more resources to be able to make more of an impact?
Like I'm I don't know what's the nicest way to put this.
Put it, man. Put it. Come on.
So I think the churches in particular have failed a lot in Baltimore City, mainly because there's 3,400 something registered churches in Baltimore, yet we see the status of our city the way it is. And I think, some of the community-based movements actually move in a form of witchcraft. So there's some, and I think they're really actually competing forces between some of the community-based work and then the church. Now, I think there is an avenue for the forces to be joined, but I think the foundations of each have to be restored. One thing about the church is no longer teaching people how to overcome, and the church looks just like the club. Like when people I used to play drums in church. I know what people used to do. I know how to play the high sounding cymbals on in the organ. So like all that stuff. Like people leave the club, Friday night, might take a nap, Sunday morning they right back in the club. And it's really not dealing with the issues of the heart. Once we really realize that family is the key to all this, not necessarily community organizations, not necessarily the church, the building, but family is really what builds the communities. And we have to go back to, the order of family, which is, having men in the home, right? Having fathers around. And I think a lot of fathers are around in Baltimore City. However, our court system is also set up against them as well.
This is those values are so much less popular than the anti this and anti that activism movements, man. I'm a person that firmly believes we have really just reestablished men's ministry in my church. Everybody know I pastor a church, and literally, I didn't try to lead it. I don't have a wife. I'm believing God to bless me and to bring me along in those places. But the person that I put in charge of the ministry is a man that has a wife. He has a home. He has an established career. He's not a preacher.
Right.
He's not a minister. I don't know what God might do in the future, but that's not what God has brought him to now. He's a terrific father. You know, fatherhood is somewhere that was strong for me. But I believe we got to get back to those values. We've allowed the competing voice of anything that looks like masculinity now is toxic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So traditional values are seeming to lose their place in our community. Now, I want to talk back about the churches, right? When we start talking about the churches and kind of what ministry has become, because we've seen an evolution, right? We see the flashing lights and the whole. When you say get back to the foundation, and I know you said the core that is family, what is the foundation?
So it's understanding these principles, right? So I just operate off faith, family, and freedom. If we're going to simplify it, it's that faith. Like what do you believe in? Where do your convictions come from, right? Where do your morals, where do your values come from? Family, that's where that provides that structure, that order. And then freedom. Most people don't know what freedom means nowadays. Like, because we have this, like, they call them snowflakes now. Like, if you,
I know what you're talking about. Ben, right?
Yeah.
Ben, what's his name? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about. The conservative comment, Ben Shapiro. Yeah.
So like, people are so hurt by anything anybody says, so they're willing to go somewhere else to tell you what to do, right? So the whole idea and the principles of freedom have been lost. And really what I say is the greatest evil that we're facing is that we've forgotten what our values are, right? We all grow up, like, I want to be around my family. Like, I want to, be in a loving home, loving environment, right? These are things that we hold true. Like, my family is dear to me, but all of these things are killed in pop culture. Like, the whole, like you said, being a man is wrong. Being a woman is not enough anymore. These things have perverted our communities, and now they've crossed not only just into communities, but into the church as well. And the church is adapting.
Well, I think this is kind of, I guess, the meeting of the two spaces that the Chop Shop normally focus on, because we do talk about spirit. But I'm totally taken off guard that I didn't know that we would find ourselves in this place, because I tell people all the time, it's really all connected, but I tell people all the time that it's very much important that we understand the role of the faith community. One of the things that I tell people about myself is, I can't sell my community out for a selfie. That's why I don't endorse politicians. That's why you'll never see a politician come into the pulpit in my church and talk about their platform or any of those kinds of things. I encourage people to be educated voters. It's been so conflated when you look around Baltimore and you see the level of influence that politicians are able to have in the faith community. Talk to us about that.
So the root of all evil, or the love of money, is the root of all evil. So just follow the money. So just follow the money. Like, if there's an allegiance to certain politicians, look at any legislation that's just recently been passed, or some nonprofit benefit that can also, benefit the churches. So, a lot of times that's where those connections, come from. It's not from, hey, we really support such and such policies. It's because, hey, he's giving us, or he's passing legislation to give us a tax break on this, or so we can get money through circling around through this organization if we do this. Like, it's not, we're no longer voting our interests, or we don't hear what our interests are from the pulpit anymore. We just say, we see too many clergymen taking sides with, certain politicians.
Let me throw this at you, because you heard us talking about it when we first came on the air. Violence breaks out in Fells Point, which, like I said, I've never known it to be nonviolent in all my time, but it didn't elevate it to the level of shootings and some other things. And the Fells Point community threatens to withhold tax dollars. And the response is, we're having a town hall. We're going to address you directly, while violence in the Black community still has not gotten nothing beyond a press conference. Talk to me about that.
So that's that issue of leverage. Like, we could do the same thing if we have.
I've been thinking all day, what do we withhold?
We could hold the same. We could hold our property taxes if you're a homeowner, right? Government requires us to function, right? So if we have to remember that we can hold them accountable in multiple ways. So we can all march down City Hall. We can say, hey, no, you're not getting our tax dollars anymore, the same way the restaurants in Fells Point are doing. But because our system is set up so there's very few homeowners, we don't have that leverage. And unless, like, where you live, you can get all your residents in an apartment building or something like that, get the landlord or the owner of the building to join forces with you, then that's what you can do as well. But we have to remember the power really lies within the community. So whatever we demand, we just have to come together to make the demands. The problem is that these killings have been becoming normalized. People have been desensitized to it. When the boy got killed up in Park Heights from Israel, like, it's almost like all of Israel descended upon Park Heights, right? Mm-hmm. But when we do it in the community, like somebody got shot right here at Walbrook Junction the other day, and then somebody else got shot right up here, at Garrison and Duval. Like, this is just normal everyday happenings. And what do we do?
I think what we do is we organize and we get ourselves to the point, because we got put Devin Matthews' last comment up there, man. I don't know why Devin ain't told me who we bullying yet, but he's still active in these comments. And he said if we withhold our property taxes, then the government will own our property. That is exactly what happens in our community when we try to organize to leverage what we do have available to us to leverage so that we can do something else. There's always that naysayer amongst us that wants to shoot it down and not allow us to operate in that source of power. We might have to get Mr. Matthews on here for about 10 minutes to be a guest, because I still don't see Mr. Matthews. We appreciate you watching today, but I want to know who the young, educated man. I don't do name dropping. Well, you said we was bullying somebody. I want to know who we were bullying.
But here's the thing though, about government. Like, who established government, right? Government is for the people, by the people. So if the government technically, so if the government owns your property, that means the people still own your property. Like, you can get
I think that we are at we're so used to a lack of unity, right? That anything that comes out sounding like unity is so unfamiliar to us that when you have a powerful move like that, they're not going to try to foreclose on everybody or take everybody's property. They're going to recognize, because also attached to those property owners is votes.
Yep.
What I'm saying is we can't be the undermining voice in our community when we start talking about solutions. Listen, y'all, we've been doing the same thing for a long time. And don't think this show is anti any politician. I done reached out to Nick Mosby and others on several occasions to come and sit down and have this Thursday evening conversation with us. I don't guide the conversation. What you hearing today is Jovani Patterson's perspective on Baltimore. Talk to your leaders. Talk to your community leaders. Talk to the people who you respect and tell them that Pastor Marvin want to sit down with them too. Tell them I want to sit down with them too. We need to get voices out there so that people understand the full spectrum. Jovani, I want to thank you for being with us today. We got about 5 minutes left. I want you to go ahead and give us your closing remarks, man. And do know we will have you back.
Well, look, man, I appreciate the time, man. The energy, man, is up there, man. I appreciate that. I'm usually like I'm not low energy, but I talk low and whatever. I'm not cool like you guys. But look, thank you again for the time. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff coming up. You see the website below. Check me out, Metro Conservative Media. I'm the co-founder. And we're putting together a few shows to really just help challenge people to think about, what's going on in our communities, what's going on in the neighborhoods, and we're also providing solutions. So we do 3 shows right now: Poppin' Politics, which is a panel of 5 ladies, for all from a conservative spectrum with different backgrounds. We have the 8:30 show, which actually comes on 8:30 tonight. So if you check out Metro Conservative Media, we have an international speaker on the topic of relationships and abortions. She's coming on the show tonight. And then we got the Frederick Douglass Foundation. The Frederick Douglass Foundation, we have some Juneteenth events coming up. Next Tuesday, we have a self-sufficiency forum out in Millersville, so you can check that out. And you can also we also have the Juneteenth Jubilee on next Saturday, which Bob Woodson from the 1776 Unites project, he's coming out, author of Red, White, and Black. So there's a lot of stuff going on, just even over the next week. I don't know if I'm asleep until 2 weeks from now. But man, this has been awesome, man, and thank you for having me, man. And I will definitely be happy to come back and join you.
I also want to thank my right hand and my left hand, my main man, Shaka. Come on the screen, man. I just had an idea. I want to have Davon Love, Adam Jackson, Brandon Cooper, and Jovani Patterson on here all at the same time.
That's bananas.
What's happening, man?
That's bananas.
Listen, we got 2 strong conservative brothers and 2 brothers who lean more towards liberalism. And I think that I got to fly the kite and get the conversation going about potential dates to get in here and to talk with those 4 brothers, man. I think that show is sick.
Policy and solutions with those 4 brothers.
What? That's the thing. Because it seems
be able to get us some. We'll get somewhere at the end of that show. I guarantee.
The more that we've had, because people might automatically think competing entities because of what you guys' platforms has been, but what we've been having is the more we've been having these contrary political platforms on, we've been getting real answers.
Yeah.
So Davon, I don't know if you're watching, Adam, I don't know if you're watching, Brandon, but I'm flying a kite tonight. I'm going to go in Messenger. I'm going to set up a 4-way messenger and say, man, I want y'all to come and have a solutions-based conversation with us on the Chop Shop, and you guys can give us the date. We ride open in July because I think past the first week in July, we haven't booked yet. We've been booking this thing a month in advance. People are coming and talking to us, man, and it is going wonderful. With that, I would like to say next week, we have one of my favorite people in the world. She's just good people, right? She good people, man. No matter where you see her, she's always the same. We're going to be sitting down and we're going to be talking to the former mayor of Baltimore, Miss Sheila, the Honorable, I said it. Mayor Sheila Dixon is going to come and sit down with this small, meager platform that don't have a big name and a lot of fame. She's going to come and sit down and talk. The last time we saw a continued decrease in crime, she was the mayor. They had some strategies that they deployed back under her administration that did what we haven't seen yet here in Baltimore. It unified the 3 main entities, which is the state's attorney's office, the police commissioner, the police department, and City Hall around real solutions. So we're excited that she continues to accept our invitations, and she's going to come on and talk to us about the city that we love, which is Baltimore. Again, don't think this is about one-sided conversations. Anybody that you love that want to come on here and tell us we don't know what we talking about, tell them that we got a full open calendar starting the 2nd week in July on Thursdays at 6 p.m. If it's somebody you love that has a great perspective on anything, inbox me. I'll extend the invitation to them. We do not do this thing partisan, meaning according to any particular party or any particular perspective. We want everybody to come on. And with that, I did something last week that I never want to do. But the 2 guests we had on took me into the holies of holies. So I forgot to say If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Of course it does. It just was nobody there to hear it. And with that, I give my gratitude to this audience that comes on week after week. My godmother, Brenda Jones, Christina Flowers, my sister, we got to get you on here. She's another one that speaks truth to power. Have been Mr. Devin Matthews. Thank you, man, for coming and riding out with us. This ain't the place where we got to sit down and talk. The only way we can sit down and talk is if we agree. I am excited that we have such a great audience hanging out with us. My man, I can't call him Outback. Oops, I said it out loud. My man Amir, who's on here with us tonight. My man Papa Smurf, one of the down the way legends I grew up under, man. Them guys gave us good wisdom on how to navigate life. I just thank my audience, man, that y'all continue to ride out with us, continue to show up. Show up next week. We're going to have Madam Mayor in the house. Jovani, thank you so much, man. You put it down tonight with great passion and fire, and we are going to continue to have you back here on this platform to talk to the people of Baltimore, because your voice is an emerging voice. And I do believe that God has even greater things in the future for you, as you have such a passion for our city. Every time I see you pop up and you speak in truth to power concerning another issue, I say, there he go again. You stand strong, young man. Yes, you sir. Continue to stand firm on the truth the truth that drives you. Because I don't care what political party you're a part of. That's not what has drawn me to pay attention to the things that you say. It's the lack of affiliation, guiding what it is that you say, that makes me want to say, as a man of God, I pray for you and your family that you continue to be blessed and you continue to allow truth to guide you and walk in the light of God, man, that God has even greater things for you than what you even can imagine. All right, with that being said, man, I thank everybody for showing up tonight. I'm about to get out of here. Shot. Take me home, man.
I can be more. There's nothing that I can't achieve if I just believe. You can be more. You can make every dream a reality. We can be more. Be more, be more.
Yeah.
I can be more.
I wake up every day and try to be more. I pray I be more. It's easy to achieve anything you believe. Like hold your head high. Girl, you got a reason to breathe. I see a rare mind. Boy, you got a reason to dream. Let's take flight. Get the children a reason to see redemption. We grow up in the jacks where it's evil and wicked. Where the people with success don't want to send you a visit. But we still finna make this life worth living. Now throw your hands to the sky if you feel it. Hey, throw your hands to the sky if you the realest. You got a vision. Let's put them pistols away and make sure the OGs keep the community safe. In the world where the ladies crying, the babies dying, I think we can create that space to make a way for the ladies to ride and make baby giants. Be more, believe, let's play. I'm so in love with life.